Today in our 2007 Saturn Vue, we're going to be showing you how to install the Roadmaster taillight wiring kit for towed vehicles. This is the LED bulb and socket kit. The part number is RM-152-LED. Now our wiring installation process is going to begin just before we put the fascia back on the car. This is going to give us an ideal time to get in here without the fascia being in the way and restricting our access. So we're going to go back behind the engine compartment now and route our wire up so it'll come out in this area down around where our bracket's going to be located. Now underneath the vehicle here on the driver's side, that's where the brake lines and the fuel lines run from front to back. Now what we're going to do is start right up this direction. There's a few things we need to avoid. You've got a steering shaft that comes down. The rack and pinion's going to move here, your sway bar. So there are a few moving parts we don't want to deal with. Also the half shaft over here. So from this area, I'm going to zip tie off pretty high up on these brake lines, and then we're going to run straight up to the battery. Once we get there, we'll go down to our connection point. All right, that should be more than enough slack up here. Now just take the time, like we talked about, zip tie this up and out of the way. Make sure it's not going to come in with contact with anything it shouldn't. All right, now we're going to be mounting our plug right here. We're going to use the provided bracket that came with our base plate. If yours didn't come with a bracket, this is going to be a good area, and you can use a long bracket to come around the bottom. Now the plug we'll be using at the front here is going to be the Roadmaster 4-pole round. It's the female or the car side. And that'll attach right to our bracket. This is part number RM-910030-1. We don't need too much wire out of the front of the vehicle, but we do want to leave a little bit of extra. We'll just trim those off and we'll get them separated. On top side of the plug, there's a little Phillips screw. We want to get that removed. It's just a little short screw. Careful not to lose it. If we give it a push from the back, you see our plug is going to come out just like that. Just place that up on there for now. We'll need to strip the end of our wires. Now we've got a little black, like a bushing behind it. Slide that up on. Now we want to back out the 4 Phillips screws. You don't have to take them all the way out, just enough so we can get our wires slid in there properly. Now on the plug side here, we'll know that this is going to be the top. That's where that set screw threads down in. And from there we need to attach yellow, green, white, and brown. So yellow is going to be our top left. And we tighten that down just so we get a good hold on our wire. We don't want to over tighten it and wind up breaking the wire. So we've got yellow and green on the top, and then white below the yellow. And then the brown wire is going to go underneath the green. Slide our cover down over. As we slide this back in, we want that nut to be up on the top. And we'll pull that in far enough so that it lines up with the hole like that. And we'll replace our screw. Now once I've tested this out and I know the system is going to be working, I'm going to fill the whole back side of this up with the same black silicone sealant that we're going to use on the sockets that go into the taillights. And we'll bring our bracket down, attach that to our plug, and then we'll use the screws to attach those to that. Now just for the sake of cosmetics, I like to wrap most of this multicolor wire up just with electrical tape. Now we'll attach that to the base plate with the provided screws. Now it's time for us to get our tail lights removed here on the back. I'm going to use a T15 Torx bit socket. We're going to have you'll see a little screw here and one at the top also. We'll get these taken out on both sides. And we can just slide those rearward. Now there's going to be a single wire that runs to that plug. Just going to pull up on the tab here. Then wiggle that to separate it. Now we'll do the same thing for our passenger side. Now it's going to be time to create our holes. Now we're going to use a 1-inch hole saw. We're going to be going in right in this area, just like that. Now we need to be far enough in from each edge to where we have plenty of room for our hole saw. We typically wind up with a few little pieces inside of there, but This will at least help limit some of that. Now we're going to apply some silicone all the way around our hole. This will help seal up, keep any of the elements from making its way in there. We'll push that down so it seats inside of our hole. And then right back over it again with some more silicone. All right, now we're going to give that some time to set up and dry while we take care of running our wires back. Now we'll start running our wiring towards the rear of the vehicle here. I like to use zip ties all along the way, anywhere possible, to give us plenty of support. And once we get around to the back side of the fuel tank here, there's a cross member that runs over to the passenger side and there's a wire loom on it. I'm going to separate my green wire off and just pull it off. And we're going to run that over that cross member. That needs to go to the passenger side light, the green wire. The white wire and brown wire, we'll get that over there with jumpers. The other three, green, yellow, and white, go in behind the driver's side. And once we're on the other side of that cross member, there's a piece of wire loom that runs almost all the way back to the area we're going to, so we can follow along with that. Now we can run our white, yellow, and brown wire along a similar route to wind up down in this area. Now as we go up around this edge, you can see it's not necessarily sharp steel, but it is a flat edge, so this is going to give us a good opportunity to use some of our wire loom that's provided with the kit. That'll give us some protection where it goes around there. Now to get our wires from the bottom up here, what we're going to use is a piece of airline tubing. You could use just like a stiff piece of wire, or if you had a wire tape or wire fish, of course you could use that. And we just want to run it so it'll wind up underneath our vehicle. You see it come out here. So when we have our wires, we can attach those and use that to pull them up in here where we can connect them. We'll do that on the passenger side and also on the driver's side. Now you'll just want to use a little bit of electrical tape. You can tape your wires to whatever you decide to pull them up with, and then just slowly bring them up through the opening here behind the housing. We're going to get our wires snipped off here. We want to save the excess that we've got. Now we're going to pull the yellow wire completely off. We'll set it aside. The brown wire we're going to use to attach to the brown wire here. That will send our running light signal over to the passenger side. The white wire will attach to the white wire here, and that's going to send our ground over. So we're picking everything up basically off that one plug at the front of the vehicle. So let's get the 5 wires stripped back here. We'll start with our white ones. We're just going to put those together, twist it, and then we're going to add one of our heat shrink butt connectors. These are from Deca. Part number is DW05745. We're basically replacing the butt connectors that came with the kit with the heat shrink. That's going to give us superior moisture protection. We won't have to worry about water getting in here and causing corrosion. Do the same thing with our brown wires. And to the end of the yellow wire, we're going to add slightly smaller heat shrink. This is DW05744. Now I'm going to shrink down just the insides of these right now. You can use a mini torch, you can use a heat gun, or what we're using here is a lighter. Just going to keep it moving so it doesn't get any dark spots. Basically you'll see how the wire looks like it magnifies, and then there's a little gel that comes out of the end. That's when you know you've got it properly sealed. Now we'll take the end of our white and brown wire, poke that back in just down the same way that we ran that wire up. Right, now that'll give us our 3 connection points for our light when we put our housing back in. All right, you'll see our sealant on the back of the light is firmed up there, holds that in really well for us. Let's strip the end of our wires off. The black wire is going to be the ground, so this gets connected to white. the brown wire, that's our running lights. So this is going to go to the brown wire, brown to brown. And then the red, it acts as our turn and as our brake. Since we're using the larger butt connectors, it's not a bad idea to strip these off twice as long and then bend them over halfway. We'll do that on the black one and on the brown one. Just going to make sure we have enough for our butt connector to bite onto. We'll never have to worry about it. Now we just need to plug that factory socket back in, and we'll be ready to reinstall our light. Now we want to replace the screws that we removed. That'll get our housing held in position. Now we're going to start running our white and brown wire from the driver's side over to our passenger side. And we've got the bumper support, or at least the rear fascia support tabs here. We're just going to go up and around those. Now we'll take that extra yellow wire we had, let a butt connector onto each end of it, and then we'll get this cut in half. Now one of these we're going to make a black stripe down, just so we can keep these separate. We'll be using that as our brown wire. Now we'll separate the white and brown wire here, strip that back, and add on our extensions. Now we can get these shrink down as well. And just like before, we'll tape this off to our pull and draw it up there behind the housing. Now just like we did on the other side, pull up any of the slack. Could be different amounts of slack. Bring that out and trim them off. So I'll bundle those wires up and zip tie it right off to that factory loom. That way we won't have to worry about them sagging down below the vehicle or anything. Of course, we did that on the driver's side as well. Let's get these stripped back and get them attached. The green one on this side is going to be connected to the red wire. The white extension goes to the black wire. And the one we marked for the brown extension, it's going to go to the brown wire. Plug our factory connector in, and just like before, replace our light. Now to test it out, we're going to hook it up to our coach or potentially hook it up to a tester if you've got it available. We'll start by turning on our tail lights. And we can try our left blinker, try our right blinker. Now we try out our left brake signal and the right brake. With everything working properly, that's going to complete our installation of the Roadmaster Universal High Power Diode Wiring Kit, part number RM-152-LED, in our 2007 Saturn Vue.